My name's Victoria Debaya and I arrived in the UK in 2012 at the age of 12. I thought as long as I had it, I could go to uni. I think just making it a lot more human.
I'm just going to start with an introduction because just so that we know who you are. So
Of
can you
course.
just say your name and at what age did you come to the UK?
Okay, my name's Victoria Debaya and I arrived in the UK in 2012 at the age of 12.
The age of 12 in 2012. And where were you before that?
Nigeria.
Nigeria, okay. So, seeing as you've been in the UK since 2012, what does that make your immigration status?
I only received my limited leave to remain last year, 2019, just over a year now, say the 2.5 year one.
What did you have to do to be able to get limited leave to remain?
I applied with my family first. I believe it was 2015. We got rejected. We applied again in 2017. That was also rejected. I was 10 and 18, so I couldn't apply with my family any longer. I had to apply by myself. So we managed to sort of raise money for me to then apply on my own. That was rejected. So I can see you waiting for the good news. It's coming, don't worry, it's coming. We got here, so it's coming. So that was rejected when I applied by myself in 2018, I think this was. So we got an appeal, so I could appeal that decision. So we was able to appeal it, and I went to court, and that was then granted on the human rights, on Article 8 of the human rights, because I didn't fit into any of the other categories you could actually be granted leave to remain. So yeah.
So why did they tell you why the other applications were rejected?
Because I think for leave to remain, I think there are 4 categories. I might be wrong, I'm a bit rusty on this, but you had to have lived in the UK before, if you're 18, for 7 years of your life. I hadn't reached that, so I would only leave to be in the UK for 6 years at the age of 18. And so the next category, and then people that are much closer. So it was sort of, it happens, isn't it? So above that, you had the 25, and you had to have lived in the UK for half your life if you're under 25. Obviously, I still hadn't done that because I'd only lived here for 6 years. I think those were the 2 categories that I actually fit into. So none of those were anything close to what I was dealing with. I think the most I'd have normally received it was on when I was 24, and then I'd have lived here for half my life.
Man, it's so complicated, and you have to be just very lucky to meet the exact criteria to get in.
Yep. Very technical. Stressful.
So for people who may not know what indefinite leave to remain is, would you be able to explain it in, from your perspective, what indefinite leave to remain means? Oh, sorry, limited leave to remain.
So it means you're able to stay in this country legally, quote unquote, for a period of time. So limited is in the name, so it is limited. So only a certain amount of time, depending on what you have. It's 2.5 years. I think that's the normal one. I think there's also discretionary leave, which is 3 years. So it does depend and it does vary, but the most common one would be so I'm able to stay in this country legally for 2.5 years and then I have to apply again.
Yeah, okay. And every time you have to do the whole application and pay for the application fees as well, right?
Yes, I believe it's about nearly 3,000 now to put in an application. So yes, so for me to be able to stay here legally while I also work and pay taxes, I would also have to pay an additional £3,000 to the government to let me stay in the country.
So that's what limited leave to remain means, in its most literal way. But what do you feel that limited leave to remain means to you?
it's always going to be a burden, because I feel like it's conditioned, because you sort of feel like if you don't follow like the law, if you're not doing certain things, it means you can't get it again. So it's like this uncertainty that's always hanging over your head, I guess. It still means you can't receive everything. Like even on your BIP, I guess you get sort of no recourse to public fund as well. So even when you work, you pay taxes, you still pay this additional £3,000. You still can't get benefit even under COVID as well, where you obviously, what's it called? Many people unemployed. You can't get an unemployment benefit. You can't get universal credit. You can't access the most basic, support, even though, you're working, you're paying taxes, you're still paying to be in the country. There's always this conditions that's attached to it. So it's a burden. There's also all the conditions attached to it. There's certain things, sort of like going on holiday, for example. I was actually planning to go with my friends for holiday, and they were thinking of going abroad. I was thinking, so this was actually this year. So I was going with my best friend. We're going to go to Croatia together. It was sort of that extra pressure of now me having, so she's a British citizenship, but I had to get a visa, and it was all that. And this was around COVID as well. So even if we're still, COVID wasn't as bad at this point, but it was sort of, if we had gone and, you hear people being stranded and stuff in other countries, and I was sort of thinking, maybe if the British government would bring her back, who would bring me back?
Yeah.
So there's always that threat, I guess, because you don't feel like you belong at the end of the day. Because even if, I'd live here for so long, and, people would see me as, or British in a way, but it's still that you still know in the back of your mind that you're not, and you can't always act the same way as other people. So there's always that thought, I guess.
And because you're doing it with your family as well, like your family are also renewing, do you feel that being in this situation has brought you closer to your family, or has it caused any sort of tensions, or has it affected family dynamics in any way, having to think about immigration status all the time?
I think if anyone says it hasn't, they're probably lying. I think it does. I think just the finance alone, the amount you have to pay, it is a lot of money. Like it's nearly, I can't get the figure. I think it's about 2009. It's basically £3,000 you're paid for just the one person. So imagine most families are low income. They're working sort of based on literally living wage, or if not like minimum wage. So you're bringing out 3,000 for one person. Now imagine, I don't know how many other people are in the family. In my family, it'll be 3 people applying at the same time. That's nearly 10,000. That's 10,000. That's a mortgage. It's a lot of money. And obviously thinking about if, are you going to pay for yourself? Is this person going to contribute to your one? It's a lot of money at one time to request from anybody. So yeah. It is. I was supposed to start uni last year. So by this time, I was probably the most naive person in the world, I'll tell you. And I told Kimberly and them the first time I met them as well. Like, I was super naive. I thought as long as I had it, I could go to uni. Like that was the plan. So I had just received it in September, I think it was. So it was literally like a hurry for me I was literally so excited that I had it. I was planning to go to uni, and I think I was supposed to start uni on the 1st of October, something like that last year. So I had like bought everything I needed to go, and then I got there. Sort of, I thought before this they said I was an international student, but in my mind it's because I had no sort of status whatsoever. That was what I thought. So at this point I didn't have my BIP yet. I only had the court letter that had granted me to stay. So I thought that should be enough to change their mind, and I'm now suddenly going to like be able to apply, and I thought I'd be able to apply for student finance the next year. In my mind, I just had to pay the 9,000, and obviously my accommodation whatsoever. We sort of planned it financially with my family. My family was going to actually pay for the first year and whatnot.
Wow.
And then I'd apply for student finance the next year because I think there was a deadline and I'd missed that. So I was like, it's fine. I just take the letter to them. They'll grant me my, obviously I'll be able to pay home fees now at this point. That's what I thought. I arrived there with my mom. This was, I think, during like welcome week. And we went to the fees office and then they were like to me, well, you still can't. It was so stressful.
Yeah, what did you do when you found out?
Cry a lot. I was really upset. That was, I think, the first time I spoke to Dami. I sort of called her. I was like, this is my situation right now. I'm in uni. And she was like, anyways, it was a lot of thinking, a lot of crying. I decided to then come back home. So I didn't end up staying in uni. I came back home. I then started looking at what other options there were for me. At this point, I had now fully become aware that I actually can't go to uni for 3 years. It was so stressful, so sad, and just...
Yeah, so how old are you now?
20.
20, okay. So now are you able to pay with home fees or are you still...
No, I got a Santry scholarship, so I'm in uni Santry scholarship.
Nice. Was that also through the Letters Learn campaign? Like, was it working with them that...
I believe it was. Yes, I think it is. We Belong also helped support my application, so it was Kimberly that actually wrote it for me to be able to apply. A lot of it probably has to do with We Belong because I did not know.
Yeah, it's so complicated, right? Like every time we're talking about it in the office, we're like, yeah, but just because of they're the exact age here and they came at the exact year here, there's this loophole that they fall through, you know?
Yeah, there's always something.
Yeah. So now, do you know at what age is the earliest you could get British citizenship?
I'm not sure, but I think I have to be on this for 10 years. So 30, and then I think you get indefinite leave to remain, I think it is. And then you need that for a couple of years before you can then apply.
Oh man.
For British passport. So 30, indefinite leave, and then going on from there, who knows? Making the process less bureaucratic, so less paperwork, less, when you apply, I think you have to wait like 6 months to get a reply back as well. I think just making it a lot more human.
Yeah.
I think because that a lot of the time is what's missing from the whole process. It doesn't feel like they see you as a person. You're just an application or you're just a number. You're not seen as a person. It's not a law, but I think just coming from that perspective, you can make laws that are able to then, so like the 10-year process, it's just too long. The fact that if you just go out or you're not able to get it, once and you break that chain, you have to start all over again. How much you're paying for one application, it doesn't matter if you earn 60,000, it doesn't matter if you're basically unemployed. I think especially now with COVID, like it's unrealistic to think people are not being affected, especially people with limited leave to remain are not being affected by COVID. So imagine someone that had to renew during this time, where are they going to get that money from? So I think just making it more human and being more empathetic to people that are actually applying to the system, because I definitely have not felt that during my time throughout the application process. I think there's a lot of changes that needs to be made. There's so much changes. How much you have to pay, for example, for an application. I think the actual cost of the application, and I might be wrong about this, it's about 500, the actual cost to the Home Office. So the rest of it is just profit for them to fill in other places. And you're basically profiting off the backs of migrants that are basically earning almost nothing, living on the most basic minimum wage. So this is the actual reality of this process. There is a lot and I don't think they actually understand the actual human cost of the home system.